We are live! Yay! Okay, so I am Michelle Talbert of Her Power Space, where I'm broadcasting live and in full blue color because we need a new laptop. So we're saving for the laptop fund. I am the founder of Her Power Space Co-working. We are a podcast studio. We host business events and your workshops here in Sunrise, Lauderhill, Florida. And we are woman forward, men welcoming. So brothers, come on out, get your co-work on, get your mailing address and all that good stuff. I'm also the founder of the No Small Business Left Behind Summit, which I'm going to put on the ticker now because we launched the website to let you get your vendor tables and to let you sign up for free if you want to find out about all the cool businesses that we're going to be hosting. It is a fully virtual event and it's going to be incredible. So as part of the No Small Business Left Behind Summit that I launched back in May, and we have been bringing these resources to you once a month, I somehow ended up creating a show by accident live on Facebook, which we're now calling Summit to Summit, right? So that means it is from one summit to the next summit. Summits are peaks, they're the high points, right? What do we go through as entrepreneurs in between the summits? The valleys. So this is Summit to Summit. These are weekly lives that I do at noon on Tuesdays Eastern Time, where I bring you content, resources, information. If you're watching this from my personal page, basically the same stuff I do every other day of the week, except I do it live on screen with incredible people. Which brings me to Jackie Garcia. Yay!
Hello. Hi.
Jackie Garcia is the IP guru.
Right.
And you guys know how I love to push people out of their comfort zones. So a couple of weeks ago, I went live with my homeboy David. He was in the space and he's like, I've never been live before. And so what did I do? I went live and put him on live, and it was his first live ever. This is Jackie's second live ever, and she only did the first one because she was getting prepped to come today. Exactly. So if you are here, if you are watching, first of all, let us know who you are. I can't see the chat, so I'm going to be looking down at my phone so I can keep up with comments. Just because for whatever reason my chat is not showing properly. But I want you to please let us know who you are, where you're from, and big up Jackie for coming on to give you great information.
Yes.
And stepping outside of her comfort zone to do it.
I'm excited to be here on the live stream today and to talk about, as the IP guru. I branded myself as the IP guru back in 2017, actually. And I've been working on the brand until I could finally take off on my own as doing intellectual property. So basically, I help small businesses, I help entrepreneurs, I help people who have their side hustles, their side gigs, take it full on, become independent, and, play that fine line between, I'm still working my 9 to 5, but I want to become a sole entrepreneur. I want to have my own business. And what do you need to have that business and get that going in the right way, right? Because I'm a licensed attorney. I don't think we've said that.
No, I was going to say, introduce you. You went, like, she dove right in. She's ready for you guys. She's like, let's get your assets protected. And if y'all notice, I spell that ASS-ets, right? So let's get your assets protected. But let's step back and take a breath just for a second.
Yes. I'm super excited to help. My main thing as the IP guru is, you know this very well, Michelle, that us as minority groups, Hispanics, people of color, we are all, women of color are the single most growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States day to day. I don't think it's a coincidence that, we are the people who get paid the least for our work, and we have found an outlet to say, no, I'm not going to take no nonsense anymore. I'm going to go become independent. I'm going to be powerful and be in charge of myself. And that's a beautiful thing that I try to do with the IP Guru, and I'm sure you try to do with Her Power Space and No Small Business Left Behind, is to just give individuals the power to take charge of themselves and their business and their finances, and it's a beautiful thing.
So talk to us about how you got here. Just a little bit. Let people know what was your journey as Jackie Garcia
Yeah.
to the IP guru, both as an attorney, but also as an online presence, right? We both talk about how part of the Bloggers Union and have been for years, you, Miami, me, Fort Lauderdale, and they're incredible group for creatives. But we're lawyers, right? How do we find ourselves in smack dab in the middle of these groups of creatives? So talk to us about that.
I personally always loved everything online. I was like, back in 2009, I'm in college, I'm looking at how everything's growing on YouTube, how much money is being made. That was the astonishment. You know,
Yeah.
when you see how much a YouTuber was making from endorsements and those kinds of things, and I was like, well, I'm sure there has to be legalities that they have to be following. That's what first drew me to intellectual property, was the protection of the brands, protection of copyrights, protection of the trademarks, which are like some of the most essential things that you will own as your brand. Which is funny because if you think about it, that's what intellectual property means. It's property that belongs to the company or you as the owner of the company, but you'll never physically touch it, but it's the single most important thing that you have. So
Right.
it was definitely a growing process. I went to law school here in Miami at St. Thomas University. I had my struggles, chronic illness, and frustrations that everybody has their cross to bear, in day-to-day life. I had a kidney transplant in 2017,
Oh,
and
wow.
I I finished law school, I got my degree, I launched the brand. I mean, I've been working on the branding since 2017, and then now, starting in 2019, I just hit the ground running.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about IP itself. I mean, you mentioned that, it's pretty much the most valuable thing that we as creatives, we as small business owners, and even working for companies create. But really define for us, what is intellectual property from a business owner's perspective? What is the definition of intellectual property?
So the definition of intellectual property really depends on what textbook you're looking at. But if I had to explain it in basic terms to a business owner, right?
Please, yes, that's who we are. Basic terms business owners, kindergarten level. Please, thank you.
Um, it's just the name. A trademark is your name. It's what you identify as. So for example, like Coca-Cola is the trademark for Coca-Cola. It doesn't, you see it, you automatically identify the brand. The Nike swoosh, you see a swoosh, you know exactly what it means. So a trademark, right, is the name of that brand or that company that becomes the identifier, that they, as
Right.
soon as they see they know what they're talking about. Like
And,
when
and so why is that so important to protect as small business owners? A lot of us, we hire people to create logos for
yeah,
us, but we don't take that next step to get that mark registered or protected.
yeah.
Tell us about how that could be problematic for us if we don't take that step, or what could possibly happen.
Oh gosh, that is my single worst nightmare. And I've had it happen to me so many times. The client, they create the business from the ground up. It's a beautiful name, it's a beautiful slogan, it's a beautiful work of art of a logo. And they sit down across the table, they're like, I'm ready to launch. I ordered my boxes, I've done everything. Like, this is go. And I'm like, you don't have a trademark for this. Have you done a comprehensive search? You could get hit with a lawsuit if you move forward with this and you're using somebody else's trademark. So I It's so essential, so essential. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, I don't care if you do it with me, but you need to register your trademark.
So it's not just about protecting our own intellectual property, it's protecting ourselves from being sued by someone else
Yeah.
who is possibly already using it, but we didn't do our due diligence to know that it exists already. You know, did her power moves exist or her power space exist before I open the door is probably a good question to have asked before, you register your whole business and everything. And and I just want to take one step back and make a clarifying point. We register at the state level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually with some type of Department of Corporations, we will register as an LLC, an S Corp, a business entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're thinking, okay, nobody else has the name, right? In your state, right? And that's not even intellectual
Yeah.
property protection. That's just saying someone else isn't using the name in the state, which could cause confusion, right?
Yes, that's the single biggest thing I always clarify to people. Just because you registered with Sunbiz, your business entity, does not mean you own that name. You
Right.
don't own the state trademark. You don't own the federal trademark. You do not own that name. That's just an identifier so that the Department of State of Florida or whatever state you're registered in can identify your business as. You do business as your business identity name. You do not
Right.
own that name.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
just want to take that one step further, which is so essential. There's a huge difference between registering at the state level and registering with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, which is the federal level. Most entrepreneurs, most small businesses run all their promotions, all their advertisements online. Okay, so you are essentially on the web, which does not have borders. And that's why it's so essential to be registered with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, not the state. You don't want to limit yourself geographically to whatever state you're registered in.
Okay, so I hear lots of cha-chings. Does anybody else throw it up in the comments? Anybody else hearing a whole lot of dollar signs? Like from a business perspective, right? We work on our day jobs during the day and our daydreams at night, and we're just squirreling away enough money to be able to kind of make our business kind of float. And now you're talking about lawyers and registrations and trademarks and copyrights. We didn't even get into patents, right? Which is a whole different thing. If you are those listening who are in the beauty industry and are putting together chemical creations, right? That's a patent. That falls under patents, right?
Right.
So how do we do this without breaking the bank, Jackie? This is a real question because this is really why people don't do it. There's two things: lack of knowledge, people perish. Okay, people got the knowledge. I know I should be protecting my marks, but
Yeah.
I'm just doing enough to stay afloat and keep my business moving forward.
Right.
How do we do this?
There's a lot that you have to do when you're opening and launching your business. It doesn't have to cost $10,000, but you are gonna spend at least a couple grand depending on what state you're being registered in. You're definitely going to one, open up a business entity with the Department of State in your state. Two, you're gonna open up your bank account. That doesn't really cost money unless the bank you're opening it with requires for you to put in a certain amount of cash in order to keep the account. Then once you have your business entity, your bank account, you're looking at focusing on your trademark creation. Trademarks, at least I understand fully the situation that we're in because of COVID and everything. Myself, like a couple of associates that I know, are taking down payments for those kinds of services. So on average, a solid trademark search, and this is always the number that everybody wants to know. Um, I do it for like about 1,250, but that's like including a comprehensive search on the logo, the trademark, getting feedback, and then from that point deciding, can we move forward with the registration, or are you infringing on somebody? Are you taking serious risk and liability? And that's why it's important for you to create the business entity first, so you're taking on as little personal liability as humanly possible.
Okay. Okay. So just a quick segue because this was in the news not too long ago. We
Right.
had we're in a period of time where there is a heightened awareness of what things are called and what images are put out there that could possibly be offensive to Black people, especially.
Right.
Right. So this antebellum, Lady Antebellum, this is tied right to directly to Old Dixie and the Civil War.
Yeah.
They changed their name to Lady A,
Hmm.
right? So they took it from Lady Antebellum to Lady A. And what we all saw in the news recently was that they were suing another artist who'd been performing for over 20 years, a Black woman, coincidentally, right? How ironic is that? Suing a Black woman who had been using the name for 20 years, and performing as an artist. So they're spot on in the exact same industry, even, right? And she herself had not registered her own name.
Yeah.
And the internet caught on fire about this. And, internet is one thing, but we're lawyers, right? Talk to us about what happened. What can she do? Is there anything she can do? Just flesh out a little bit about why Lady Antebellum sued her versus the other way, which is what we said earlier about when you don't do your due diligence, you can leave yourself open to being sued, right?
Right. So what I had seen in my research for that case was that Lady Antebellum was asking for a declaration from a judge saying that the trademark that they had registered for Lady A as approved by the United States Patent and Trademark Office was in reality approved and is registered. What happened with that is the biggest point. Once your trademark is registered, it's approved by the USPTO. You get the email, you get the physical copy, you've been approved, you have your trademark. That is a legal status. Once you have that paper and that is yours in your hands, it's up to the other person to prove that you're in violation of their rights, because the assumption, legal assumption, is that whoever holds the trademark is the proper owner of the trademark. So in reality, if Lady A from Hi Joy, if Lady A wanted to prove that in reality Lady Antebellum was infringing on her right, Lady A would have to sue, take on all the risk of suing Lady Antebellum. And it's a lot of risk when you take on a lawsuit of that caliber, because it's a lot of money that falls into the litigation, and the average Joe cannot afford that. So the average Joe can't afford to register their trademark. That is 100%, and that is necessary so that they can continue to run their business throughout all 50 states and online, because you don't want to be limited to a geographical area. What the average Joe does not have the money to do is go into a huge lawsuit with Lady Antebellum, who Lady Antebellum themselves probably doesn't even own the trademark. It's the music record company who has unlimited funds. But I mean, I could go off on a complete tangent when it comes.
Yeah, I mean, this is really bringing it down and cementing it. And please, y'all, ask questions in the chat from the business owner perspective of, are there thoughts you're having about your own intellectual property? I'd like to take a step back because a lot of folks who we work with in our community, okay, y'all, you create videos like this one that I'm creating, right? And it has my branding and the No Small Business Left Behind Summit is there. That we create ebooks. We create lots of content,
Yes.
right? And on my personal page, y'all know how I feel about Facebook and Zuckerberg and ownership of everything. But when we're putting things out into the world, even as small as putting that C in a circle, right? Copyright, to have that common law, we would call it copyright. It's not registered, but at least you're putting the world on notice that I own this, I made this, right? So those are some ways that people kind of call like a poor man's copyright. But talk to us, Jackie, are those things that we should be doing while we're kind of saving up our money to be able to ensure that we register, get registered and have things in place?
I would say you need to register as quickly as you can. And I know that that's going to be like, oh, well, she runs a business, all attorneys, right? Because I feel like the hesitancy toward an attorney is twofold, right? They're like, oh, all attorneys, they just run with, well, you give them money and they just run away with it. They don't do anything. You know, we have a bad reputation. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, transparency is my biggest thing. I'm transparent with my clients. I'm transparent with my mentees. It's necessary to be transparent. I give payment plans. I explain them. You know, if we do a comprehensive search, and I wouldn't recommend for them to register their trademark because there's something too substantially similar and they're opening themselves to liability. Obviously, I'm their attorney. Whatever decision they make at the end of the day is the one that I'm going to follow through with. But, you know, you payment plans, dude, anything that you can get yourself in through the door so we can already start having that conversation and moving forward. If it's something that they're trying to DIY before they get to me, you can look up a quick video on how to do a basic trademark search using their database on the USPTO website. It's that is open. That's on public. That's public record. You can look up the USPTO database and see immediately whether somebody has that kind of trademark. I highly recommend you do more than just a Google search before you sit down and decide that you're going to use this name brand. That's why when I register a trademark, I include a comprehensive search, because that's a 2-week search that goes across like all global websites, all everything, and I get like a huge stack of paperwork that I have to flip through, like a whole book on just your trademark and what where it's been used, where it's been mentioned, and those kind of things. So then we can decide as an attorney client whether we want to move forward, how we can move forward, and those kinds of things. So
I'm just going to push back, right? Because I know that people will not do it if they think they can't afford it. It's one of those, I'm a corporate lawyer, right? So I work with businesses as small as a couple $100,000 a year to multi-million, like 8-9 figures, right?
yeah.
So the question being, those guys have no problem making sure that they protect themselves. They feel like this is a business investment, right? But how do we articulate and get the message across to solopreneurs and side hustlers that, this is really something that's to be taken seriously?
Okay.
How calculated of a risk is it to say, you know what, I'm just going to wing it? And then you end up like Lady A, and 20 years later, somebody is infringing on your name, but they're not really infringing because they did all the due diligence and took the action. So the question is, I know you don't like DIY, but if someone was to DIY it, what do you find, number one, is about the amount of time that they would have to spend and how much money? And then when they bring it to you after they've DIY'd it, what does that change any of the dynamic for what you have to do and the cost that they may incur?
The process is still, as much as you DIY at home and as much as you can do the research at home, like let's say you go to LegalZoom, right, and you're registering a logo. It takes a couple months for you to get a solid answer back from the USPTO website. That's first. The person can end up getting a response requiring more information. You need somebody to help you with those kind of things. My answer to someone who's like, well, how do I DIY it? I would tell them you can't afford to DIY it. This is one of those things you cannot afford
This
to
is
do.
rough, y'all. Is anybody else struggling? Let me tell you why. I'm a lawyer and I'm struggling. You know why? Yesterday I had on a shirt from the Edifying Used Store. Shout out Udaline Edifying Used Store. Check out her t-shirts and goods. Really uplift you. It said unapologetically multi-passionate entrepreneur, right? So what
Right,
does that mean? That means that like how many of us have a million .coms that we've purchased, right? Because we have all these great ideas. So
right,
what are you saying I need to protect when I'm constantly, the No Small Business Left Behind was spawned in May. You know, the Unchambered came in March. Her Power Moves was back in 2015. Her Power Space is 2020. Am I supposed to be spending $1,500 every single time I have an idea and put it out in the world? Like, what are we doing? Is anybody with me on this? Like, Jackie, I'm putting your feet to the fire, man. What are we supposed to do?
I understand. I think, well, like for example, if I wanted to take your brand into example, not that this is legal advice, but like
No,
hypothetically.
it's not legal advice. Nothing here is legal advice. Jackie and I are lawyers, but we're not your lawyers, to be clear.
Exactly. You always have to put the disclaimer.
Absolutely.
Her Power Moves separate from Her Power Space. They could be like derivatives, one of the other. You see, so
And
it's
that saves money? Does that save money? Y'all see, I'm trying to protect your purses, right? So does that save money for the entrepreneur and give them still the same protections?
it would limit the protection.
Okay.
It's not the same.
Okay.
Once you have one, it doesn't necessarily have the other. Because remember, once you're trying to register a trademark and a logo, you have to do the same 4 or 5 steps all over again. You have
Okay.
to do the comprehensive search. You have to do the registration with the trademark office. Will it cost the same amount when you're doing multiple trademarks with the same trademark attorney? No, because
You're
I
better off bulking it. So we're better off bulking it, coming to you and saying, you know, Jackie, I'm Her Power Space, Her Power Moves, the Unchamber, and the No Small Business Left Behind Summit. Let's go. Let's protect all 4 of these brands right now. And that would help us with costs. And
not
I'm really not asking you for me personally. I really am asking because I know what our community does. Joy has a great question on the screen right now where it's, you know, I know the ideas that Joy has. Joy has incredible ideas. She has the grandma's photo shoot. She really has a heart for grandmothers, and she has these great events where women can come and get their grandma photo shoots, and she has one coming up in April. So now she wants to know, should she be put in touch with you so she can protect her idea surrounding ensuring that grandmas feel beautiful with these photo shoots and gift bags and things like that?
So the thing that I can do that to offer a client to when they're trying to do multiple business moves and they're somehow related, but they're not exactly the same, right? Would be you're creating one big brand, and maybe that results
Gotcha.
in rebranding and then having subcategories. So, like for example, the IP Guru, I have the IP Guru, but I have it for legal services and educational services.
Gotcha.
Both. If I do my PDF booklets, if I do a course online, that's not me providing a legal service. That's me providing education.
That's smart. Okay.
So
Okay.
you can most definitely. So, for example, if Joy wanted to rebrand, which a lot of people end up having to do,
Right.
you would create a brand that's distinctive enough to get that trademark protection. And there you would identify different classes within that brand name. So if Joy takes pictures, if she sells merchandise, if she, I don't know, sells goods, some sort of, I don't know why I was thinking Joy sold like cupcakes or something like that. I'm sorry, Joy. I don't know what you actually do beside the pictures for the grandmas, but maybe makeup, right? For the elderly women that she's taking pictures of the grandmas and all that. That's relevant, and that would be a separate class for her trademark. When you go to apply your trademark and I'm sitting there filing your registration for you. I have to say, oh yeah, Joy's gonna use it for photography purposes. Or
Gotcha.
Joyce use it for photography and the selling of goods, and then specify what kind of goods those goods are.
Okay. All right.
That
This
would be
is great.
fine.
Jackie,
I understood where you were trying to come from. I'm like, okay, Michelle, everybody has a million ideas, but you have to
right,
follow through with one.
which
My
is great. This is great. And she said it. She does grandma's gifts, books, t-shirts, things like that. She creates merch around her brand. You
so
know, grandkids call me. What my grandkids call
you
me is her
would
brand.
definitely have multiple classes within her registration. That's why,
Exactly.
like, for example, if you look at some of the big trademark names, and you can look them up on the USPTO website, I'm going to do a post about that soon on my IG.
Okay.
About how, like, if I pull up the Coca-Cola registration on the USPTO, you will see all the classes that Coca-Cola is registered under.
Okay. That's great info. All right, so I don't see more questions. Jackie, if you could just sum up in maybe 2 to 3 points what we should do next as entrepreneurs, side hustlers, solopreneurs, what are the next 3 steps that we should take to begin to kind of, aside from hiring a lawyer, what are some things that we can do to prepare to hire for a lawyer while we're saving those funds? What are 2 or 3 steps that we could take that might give us some protection or get us prepared for the next step?
I would say the biggest recommendation I can give to someone is to truly think about what they're going to name their brand and to put in work. Do research on the name, make it distinctive. Okay, you need a trademark to be distinctive in order for it to maintain that protection. A lot of trademarks will get shut down if they're generic. I'm gonna do an IG live video next week on the whole, like, whether it's distinctive, generic, and what that means, because basically in the legal profession, as you know, we take common words and add special definitions to them. So
Exactly.
generic, so when you think of your trademark, it cannot be generic. It has
Right.
to be, think of Xerox, think of Google, think of Apple as a descriptive for a computer, right? You wouldn't know Apple equals computer, right?
Right.
So that's what gives a trademark strength. Um, that's where I would spend the most of my time if I
Making sure that we're distinctive, making sure that we ensure that the brand, what my grandkids call me, is distinctive, right?
right.
So, okay. All right, great. Well, tell folks where they can find you. I have your IG listed up here. Is that the best place? Should they slide in your DMs
That's
to see about working with you?
Yes. I'm on Instagram as the IP Guru. I
Yes.
have a link in my bio that has my calendar, and you can sign up for an appointment whenever. I'm also hosting for the 14th of August a educational seminar where I'm gonna walk people through how to register their own LLC, with a book with all, like, how to keep track of your deductibles, what's a business deductible. And for a second, I'm just going to talk about LLCs. If you aren't registered in the state of Florida as an LLC, you're missing out. Okay. It's a huge advantage. It's all the protection of a corporation with basically none of the formalities. You really, all of your business expenses you can deduct from being an LLC, because that's what the LLC gives you, and insulates your liability so you're never personally liable. And it also creates a venue for you to be able to say, oh, I spent, $300 on makeup, $400 on, right? Because if I was thinking about Joy's situation with the grandmas, well, the backgrounds, the traveling, all those things become tax deductibles. So my presentation for the 14th would be how to register, how to open up your bank account with your registration, and the booklet with the information on how to have your bylaws and understand how to keep track of your finances. So that I'm going to be offering for August 14th with a $25 discount for members of Her Power Space.
Woo! Her power face. Y'all better slide over to those IG DMs. And so if they are not in IG DMs, I'll go ahead and send them. You guys can hit me in on Facebook because some of you, I think almost all of you have IG. But in the instance that you don't have an IG account and you can't go to the IP Guru and get the information for the link and to sign up for the August 14th event and get your discount, make sure that you hit me in my inbox in Facebook for Michelle Y. Talbert, and I'll make sure to get your information over to Jackie. Now, Joy, I see you have another question about the charges and things like that. I definitely suggest, then you, I know what my grandkids call me is on IG. So please, please, please connect with the IP Guru. Jackie, this was great. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you sharing this information. This is so important, you guys. Hopefully this was helpful to you.
Yes.
Another disclaimer, again, just to say, Jackie and I are both lawyers. We are not your lawyers. This was not legal advice. This was information and educational purposes use only.
Right.
So the August 15th. So August 14th, you're going to head over to Jackie's event. That's Friday, right?
Yes.
Then Saturday, August 15th, you're coming over with me to the No Small Business Left Behind Summit, where DJ Shelly Rockstar, Afenia from I Can Collective out of Chicago, and I are going to be pumping it up with all of these incredible vendors. We are doing the biggest unvendor virtual fair that you have ever seen. But wait, there's more. That's right. If you're a small-owned business, you can do a commercial just like this. Y'all remember the days when we used to do Black Biz Scope? And we used to do our 3-minute pitches and commercials and let people know with all this energy that we brought to our products, and then tell them, come on back and buy what I got over here at the No Small Business Left Behind Unvendor Fair on August 15th. You can go to nosmallbusinessleft.behind.summit.com, which I need to be running across the bottom right now, right? So that you can sign up and get more information. And this is free to the public. We want folks to come in and learn about our women-owned businesses, our Black-owned businesses, our women of color. Like, we are so serious about local small businesses. It's going to be an incredible event. Next Tuesday, on our next Summit to Summit in the Valley, we will be speaking with Corey LeGrand, who is the founder of LeGrand Consulting, which I just totally botched, and he's going to be like, I can't believe you just did that, Michelle. Corey LeGrand is coming. He's going to be talking to us about a couple of things. We're going to be talking about training in your business, but we're also going to be talking about mental health. And we're also going to be talking about plants because he loves plants. If you follow Corey, you know he loves plants, right? So this is a brother who loves himself some plants. But all of this ties into how we are presenting our information, just as Jackie just did. How do you train people and position yourself as the expert, which you know is my jam, to teach you how to position yourself as the expert. So we're going to have that conversation. So join us again at noon next Tuesday, where we'll be talking with Corey LeGrand on Her Power Space and the Michelle Y. Talbert Facebook pages. All right, Jackie Garcia, you did it. This is your second live. Super excited. You guys clap it up for her. So thank you so much for your information. Follow the IP Guru and get great information and hang with her on the 14th. I'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.